In this lecture, we are going to see about measurement of blood flow and cardiac output. Usually, adequate blood supply is very important for the proper functioning of all the organs of the body. In fact, the impaired blood supply may lead to various kinds of diseases in our body. So, we have to monitor whether the organs of the body gets adequate blood supply or not. Usually, a rate of flow of a liquid or a gas in a pipe is given by volume of a substance that passes through the pipe in a given unit of time. That is, amount of a substance that is being passed through a given unit of time gives the rate of flow of a liquid or a gas in a pipe. Usually, flow rates of a liquid is given by liters per minute or milliliters per minute. The blood flow meters that are used in the clinical and the research areas are based on the following 5 principles. The first one is based on electromagnetic induction. The second one is ultrasound transmission or a reflection. Third one is thermal convection. Fourth one is radiographic principles. And the last one is indicator dilution method. First, we'll see about blood flow meters. So this magnetic blood flow meters is based on the principle of electromagnetic induction. So what actual electromagnetic induction is? Here the EMF is induced due to changing magnetic field. It happens when a conductor is placed in a moving magnetic field or when a conductor is constantly moving in a stationary magnetic field. So in a magnetic blood flow meters, we'll be having a magnet. It can be either a permanent magnet or electromagnet, and it is placed around the blood vessel. Okay, so what happens if it placed around the blood vessel? It will generate a magnetic field that is perpendicular to the direction of the blood flow. So here you are placing a magnet around the blood vessel. So what happens here is the blood flowing in the blood vessel actually acts as a moving conductor, and you are having a magnetic field with the help of this permanent magnet or electromagnet. And here comes the principle of electromagnetic induction. Since you have the moving blood which acts as the conductor and a stationary magnetic field, so the voltage is induced in the moving blood and it can be measured with the stationary electrode. So you will be having what stationary electrodes that is being fixed on the opposite sides of the blood vessels. So with the help of these electrodes, you can able to measure the voltage that is being induced here. And with the help of this magnetic blood flow meters, we can able to find out the velocity of the blood flow. The next one is blood flow measurement by thermal convection. Whenever a hot object is placed in a colder flowing medium, then the hot object will get cooled down, and this principle is called as a thermal convection. The rate of a cooling, that is the rate at which the hot object gets cooled, is proportional to the rate of the flowing medium, and this thermal convection will be used here. So here what we'll be doing is a thermistor will be placed in the bloodstream and the thermistor will be maintained at a constant temperature. So what happens if blood flows? There is a possibility that the temperature of the thermistor to reduce. So we have to increase the temperature of a thermistor by some electrical energy, and the electrical energy which is required to maintain this constant temperature is the measure of the flow rate. Next we'll see about blood flow determination by radiographic methods. Usually with the help of X-rays we cannot visualize the blood or we cannot see the blood. Why? Because the blood and the surrounding tissues are at the same radio density. So this is the reason why we cannot see blood in the X-rays. So in order to overcome this problem, what we are going to do is we are going to inject some kind of a contrast medium. So it's a kind of what a foreign agent. So we are going to inject some kind of a medium into the blood vessel, and we can able to see the circulation pattern of the blood. Okay, so usually the kind of a thing which is injected into the body is iodated organic compound. So now we have injected some contrast medium into our body. Then by recording the X-ray, the contrast medium can be followed and the blood flow in the vessels can be easily found. And this technique is known as cine or video angiography. Apart from this iodated organic compound, we can also inject radioactive isotopes into the blood circulation. The next one is ultrasound blood flow meters. So in this technique, we will be using ultrasonic energy, which is used to measure the velocity of the blood. So this ultrasound blood flow meters has two techniques. One is a transit time method and the next one is based on Doppler principle. In a transit time method, what we'll be doing is a pulsed beam will be transmitted through the blood vessel and its transit time has to be measured. What is actually transit time? It is nothing but the time required for the signal to reach the destination. So, when the blood flows in the direction of the energy being transmitted, then the transit time is shortened. Or if the blood flows in opposite direction, then the transit time will be more. So in this way, the transit time can be calculated. So this method is used to calculate the direction in which the blood flows. The next one is based on a Doppler principle. Here you will be having an oscillator. So this oscillator is used to drive or excite a piezoelectric transducer. So this piezoelectric transducer is actually coupled to the wall of the blood vessel. So this is a blood vessel here and the piezoelectric transducer is coupled, right? So you'll be having a true transducer. So this is number one and this is second one. So this piezoelectric transducer will send a beam of ultrasonic energy into the blood with a frequency F, right? So it sends ultrasonic energy into the blood with a frequency F. So what happens when the energy reaches the blood, it may get scattered. Why? Because the blood has moving blood cells. Because of that, the energy may get scattered and it may reach the second transducer. So the reflected signal that is been scattered and reaches the second transducer will have the frequency either F plus Fd or F minus Fd. So this change in the frequency, that is F plus Fd or F minus Fd, it depends upon the direction of the blood flow. So this Fd is nothing but your Doppler frequency. And you can see some part of the signal, it reaches directly from the first transducer to the second transducer without any scattering or a reflection. Okay, so this kind of a signal, it reaches the second transducer with the same frequency of F. Then you will be having an amplifier and this amplifies the composite signal, and you have a detector and this detector gives the Doppler frequency, which is nothing but the difference between this direct signal and the scattered signal. And you're having this frequency meter to check the Doppler frequency, and you also have this loudspeaker. Since this Fd lies in the audio frequency range, you can hear it through the loudspeaker. And the last one is indicator and dye dilution method. Actually, this method is used to find the cardiac output. So this method actually measures the blood flow and not the blood velocity. Let's see what is meant by cardiac output. So this is nothing but a quantity of a blood that is delivered by a heart to the aorta per minute. So aorta is nothing but a valve in the heart. This cardiac output is actually measured by a traditional method. So this is one of the oldest method called as a Fick's method. So this Fick's method is based on the analysis of gas keeping of an organism. That is, what we'll be doing in a Fick's method is, we'll be infusing oxygen into the blood, right? First we'll be infusing what? Oxygen into the blood, and then we'll be measuring the amount of oxygen in the blood before infusing the oxygen and after infusing the oxygen. So this method is called what? Fick's method. But this Fick's method has some disadvantage because it's somewhat complicated and we need to repeat it some more time, and it necessitates catheterization. That is, we need to perform some surgical procedures. So in order to overcome this method, we are going for this indicator and dye dilution method. So in this indicator and dye dilution method, we are going to use some kind of indicator that is being injected into the blood. So the indicator which we are injecting, it must be readily mixed with the blood and its concentration must be easily determined after mixing. So that kind of indicators must be chosen. The indicator which is popularly used in this method is a cardiogram and it is a long favored as an indicator. So here what we'll be doing is we'll be injecting some kind of indicator into the blood and we are going to check out its concentration in the blood. So in the diagram you can see you have two columns here. Here the first one indicates, so we are injecting the indicator through an injection here, and if you see there is no recirculation of the blood, right? So there is no recirculation here and it is called a what? Open circulation method. Whereas in the second one we are injecting the indicator here and the thing is the indicator is mixed up with the blood and it's again recirculated. So here we are having a what? Recirculation of the blood and it is called a what? Closed circulation. Okay, so here what we are going to do is the indicator will be injected here. So how it is injected? So it is being injected at a constant infusion rate. So we can say in a general I grams per minute. Okay, so we are injecting at a constant infusion rate of I grams per minute. So and then we are having a what? Detector. So we are having a what? Detector here, and this detector is used to measure the concentration of the indicator in the blood. Here we are having two methods in which the indicator is injected into the blood. One is a continuous injection and the next one is a bolus. So continuous injection is nothing but we are going to inject the indicator continuously without giving any break. Whereas in a bolus method, we are going to give a discrete amount of a medicine for a specific period of time. That is, we are not going to inject the indicator continuously. So this bolus method is used to raise the concentration to the effective level. So that is the only difference between continuous injection and the bolus method. So now what we are going to do is we are going to inject an indicator into the blood and check out its concentration in it. Let's look into the open circulation method first. Here we'll be injecting the indicator through the injection. So what will happen? The concentration will increase slowly and finally it will reach a constant value C0, right? So this constant value is represented by what? C0. So the concentration increases slowly and then it reaches a what? Final value? C0. So from this the flow can be measured using this formula, that is with the help of the injection rate I divided by C0, that is nothing but a what? Constant value of the concentration. So the flow is given by I divided by C0. And the next we are going to see about the closed circulation, right? So in the closed circulation, what happens here is the indicator is again what? Recirculated and it reaches the detector, right? So it reaches the detector here. So if you see what happens, the concentration increases. It does not reach a constant value, but if you see it goes in a steps, right? So it goes in a steps. So this is what happens in a what? Recirculation pattern. So this is the difference between what? This open circulation method and the closed circulation method. And next we'll see about this bolus injection. So for the bolus injection, first we'll see about the open circulation case. For the open circulation case, if you see here, the concentration, it increases first to the peak value of about P. So the peak value is P here, and then if you see the concentration decays as an exponential function, right? So this is for open circulation, and then for a closed circulation, the concentration increases and it reaches a peak value P and also decreases, and if you see here, after some time there is a hump and it is represented by R here, whereas in the before one there is no such hump, whereas here we are having a what? Hump here. So far we have seen how the concentration of the indicator changes when mixed up with the blood. So now we are going to now find out the flow. So how can we calculate the blood flow? So in order to calculate the blood flow, we need to find out the area under the concentration curve we have seen before, and it is given by the integration from t is equal to I to t is equal to infinity, that is starting from initial time to the final time, c into dt. So we have find the area under the concentration curve through this integral, and now we are going to find the blood flow. So this blood flow can be find with the help of this integral we have seen before and the amount of the injected indicator, and the expression is given by B, which is nothing but the amount of the injected indicator divided by integration from t is equal to I to t is equal to infinity C dt, which is nothing but your area under the concentration curve. So in this method you can find the blood flow. And this is all about measurement of blood flow and cardiac output. Thank you.